Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to Sim Racing Bible. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing well. Today, we are in a special midweek stream because we are in RaceRoom Racing Experience. We're going to be testing out the brand new Formula RaceRoom X-22 single-seater. Now, this car is it's been teased for a little while. We've had some previews of the various liveries on the social media channels, and we've had lots of hype being built up around this particular car. So it's going to be interesting to see what we find this evening. We get the now opportunity to drive the car in the game, so we're going to give that a good go through, test it all out, have the full experience of the new RaceRoom X-22, and just give my thoughts on what I think it feels like to drive. On the actual store itself, it actually mentions there's a little slogan on there. It says the new benchmark in open wheel racing, and that's quite a bold statement. So we're going to try and see what that's how that stacks up this evening, and see what this new car is like to drive. So excited for this one. It's going to be good. So let's get ourselves over into the game now, and we'll get ourselves on track for the evening. Okay, I'll come and join you now. Get the chat up and running. There we go. Now I can see what's going on. Right. So, welcome along, everybody. Good to have you with us this evening. I hope you are doing well, and thank you for joining us for a special midweek stream. So, first things first, let's go take a look at the car itself, the car in question. So, we'll go into a practice session here, and here we are. We have it selected already. So, let's have a look. So, it's hidden under the little FRX22 icon here. Just the one car option available. However, there are quite a few different liveries available, so they've kind of gone with a like an A1GP type theme for this. They've gone with regional teams. So we've got Team Sweden, Team Singapore, Team UK. Dan Hammond in there. Shout out to Dan, who's RaceRoom UK. And we've got Team Netherlands, Team Portugal, Team USA, Team Geo. Not quite sure where that one goes to, but there's a few of those. Team BBS there. We've got Team Italy as well, Team Austria, Team Brazil, Team Belgium. There's literally loads and loads of liveries. You've got France, Netherlands, Japan, Canada, Germany. Track times on there as well. Malaysia, with a very Petronas inspired, and the stickered livery there. We've got Spain as well, Australia, Poland, Philippines, and Hungary. So many different liveries, which is really cool because it gives a lot of diversity on the actual track itself. So they're not repeating too much, and there's lots of different color and vibrancy added to the track. So lots of nice looking liveries to go with them as well. So obviously this car is based around the current Formula 1 2022 regulations, which brings into play things such as ground effects on the downforce, and a bid to try and reduce some of the dirty air that happens in the wake of these cars so that they can follow a little bit closely, which has been relatively successful this year, you could probably say. The cars are able to follow an awful lot closer than they previously did. So it's good to see, and we're going to see what this is like as a representation of this type of car. So this obviously isn't an exact replica of one of the F1 teams. It is based around those rules, and looks very, very similar to a lot of the cars you see on the grid today. So we're going to jump in Dan's car here in Team UK. You'll have to represent Team UK, obviously. So let's go on track and load in. We're going to go to Spa-Francorchamps because why not? This is the Belgian Grand Prix this last weekend, so we'll give it a drive on here. We may have to take it to Zandvoort as well, just to give it the full experience. Marty, welcome along, Marty. Good to have you with us. Hope you're doing well. Excited to try out some new content here in RaceRoom. It's been a little while since we've been in RaceRoom. It's very poor of me to not have been in RaceRoom for so long. I do love the sim. So good to be back in it this evening. Right. So first things first, this car, it's quite complex. There's a lot going on with this car. So obviously it's not just a jump in, drive and off you go type thing. There's all the bells and whistles that go along with these type of Formula cars. So we have DRS, we have push to pass, we have an MGUK system on board in the car. So we have energy recovery, energy deployment, all that kind of stuff. So there's a little bit more to think about when driving this car. So that's going to be interesting. We also have 3 different tyre compounds. We have soft, medium, hard, like you would get in Formula 1. So we're going to give all those a go and see how they react. before we jump on track, worth mentioning as well, I've bound a lot of buttons to my wheel. I've got some rotators which I put on, which we'll go through in a moment. But worth doing if you're on the options menu here, go to gameplay, go to camera. There's the option here to toggle the halo visibility. Now this car obviously has a halo. It's the first car in RaceRoom to feature a halo, and it now has the option, if you wanted to, you can toggle it so that you can have a little transparent slither down the middle where you would normally have the halo, so you're not getting vision impairment. Because obviously when you're in the car itself, you wouldn't necessarily see that so much because it's kind of blurred out by your 2-eye vision, but because you're in a sim, you will see it completely flat and obvious right in the middle, so you can toggle that to be off and semi-transparent so you can see through it, which is what I've done here. So let's okay, well, let's just jump on track and we'll first taste of this particular car. So straight away, nice looking cockpit, nice looking steering wheel, lots of buttons and dials as you'd expect in this type of car. Got a couple of new things on the heads-up display on the bottom right down here. So we have a battery indicator showing you how much battery we have available in the energy deployment system. We have an overtake button, and we also have a DRS button on there, which we had previously with the other Formula X. So let's fire it up. So this will be a V6 turbo, as is the current cars in F1. Right. So let's take it out of the pit lane here at Spa-Francorchamps and see how we get on here. Whoop, straight away. Having to feed the power in. So, out of the pit lane exit, the exit of La Source, and let's just feed in some power as we take off down towards Eau Rouge and Radio at the rate of knots. Just going to ease our way through here. This, of course, is the old style Spa-Francorchamps. This hasn't got the current revisions in terms of runoff areas and slight layout change at Eau Rouge and Radio. Ooh. It's got a nice little cackle on the overrun there. Sounds good. Down towards Rivage. That does sound really good, actually. But then RaceRoom always do a fantastic job of sounds. We know that from previous cars. Welcome, Azaris. Welcome along. It says, let's see if Phil manages to keep it in a straight line. Thanks for the confidence there, Azaris. I'm sure we'll do our best. I'm under no illusions that this is going to be a bit of a wild ride, because obviously Formula 1 cars don't have any form of traction control, so the only traction control you have is your right foot. So just trying to be a little careful as we feed in the power and get used to what grip we have available. We're on the soft tyres here, as you can see from the red marked sidewalls. So force feedback wise, quite tight around the middle of the steering wheel rotation, so you really do get a good feeling of load through the corners up into 8th gear. Crazy how many gears these Formula 1 cars have. Oops, bit of a lock up into the bus stop. I'm being very careful because I don't want to overtake my rear end, my front end, all of a sudden and just have a great view of what was behind me. So there's quite a flat spot when it gets into low revs, and all of a sudden all the boost kicks in and then it just takes off. So got to be aware of that and just kind of plan for it happening, I suppose. So here we go then. So our battery is currently showing 58%. I don't know if that updated over the start finish line, but we will see this next time around. With so many gears, of course, you've got to get down through them very, very quickly indeed. So frantic paddle action, just trying to get the right gear for the corners. Rear end was trying to get away then. So you can see the battery level ticking down on the right hand side there. And of course that should regen when we hit the brakes as well. So I have to keep an eye on that going back up again. So some of the heavier stops like into here. Okay, yeah, it did go up by 8% perhaps. But of course, all that can be tinkered with the onboard controls, with the energy recovery system. So, feelings-wise, so far of driving the car, obviously we're not pushing on particularly hard at the moment, but we're just finding our feet. Kind of losing a bit of revs as we go through Blanchiment there. And there we go, there's the first spin of the evening. Just trying to figure out where that power kicks in, and then driving accordingly. So, okay, that's one on the spin counter. New session best, not that it's going to be amazing. Definitely very loose on the rear end. Up through, ready on very wide there. Colton Small, welcome along. It says, is it the new benchmark? Well, that's the question we're all expecting to answer this evening, hopefully. So, we'll certainly find out. Welcome, Theodore. It says, Phil, your game volume is a bit lower than normal and your voice is a bit louder. Love your voice, but can't hear the cars like normal. Yeah, I've changed the volume levels of the microphone, so I'll put the game sounds up for you guys so you can hear a bit better. Hopefully that should be more like it. Let's get this chat back up so I can see. Skoda's keeping count of my spins. Thanks, Skoda. Appreciate that. That's going to come back to haunt me, isn't it? Right. Here we go then. What we also need to figure out this evening is just how long these different tyre compounds last as well. So whether the softs only last a couple of laps, 10 laps, who knows? We'll have to give it a bit of a test. It's the mic clipping. Okay. So happens when you play with settings. It's just puts all things into a bit of a mess. There's the bus stop again. All right, take that opportunity. That's spin count too. Let's just put that down just a little touch there and give that a go. Hopefully that's better for you guys. Right, let's return to the garage a second. It's going to show you the settings on the car just so you can see what we're kind of dealing with here. So here you go, main general page. Here you've got usual things on here: brake bias, pressure, fuel level, etc. This is where you change your compounds for your tyres, soft, medium, and hard. Quite comprehensive on the setup side of things for this car. By the looks of things, we've got various spring rates, tyre pressures, rebounds, bumps, and things going on there. But we also have a third spring to bear in mind as well, which is not something I'm overly familiar with how that works, but I believe it's just like in the centre of the car, and it really helps with a lot of setup changes. But you have that front and rear as well, so lots to kind of get your head around there if you like tinkering with the setups. Electronic side of things, so this is where you find all your motor regeneration. So we have an auto preset, which is what it's set on to now, and that's basically just defines what it thinks is best. But you have 5 different presets available, which you can change the rates on as well. So if you set it to preset 5, you will regenerate at 80%, and then discharge at 100%. Sorry. So that's your all-out qualifying lap mode. And then you have a discharge 0%. So if you want to save energy in the battery, you put it down to preset 1. And then various increments in between 20, 50, and 80% deployment as well. So you can obviously change those sliders. So if you feel that you need it deploying a little bit more or a little bit less, depending on how long the lap is and how much battery you have at the end of the lap as well, you can change that up and give it a good mess around and play with that. So we've got it on auto. We'll leave it on auto for the moment, and then we'll do some onboard changing on that eventually. Chat's gone again. There we go. It's back again. So on the driveline side of things, we have 5 engine maps to play with as well. So engine map 5 is the most powerful engine map. So you have your power, and then power with turbo as the solid line. Shows you your curves there. But if you click that down through them, you can see those curves just flatten ever so slightly, so you end up with less power. So if you want to save your engine for whatever reason, you can put it in map 1. But if you just want to have full power, map 5 is the way to go. And then obviously gear ratios and diff settings as well. So very involved in the setup side of things, and lots to mess around with. So let's go again. Let's try some more. Hey GSA and Dad, welcome. Good to have you with us. Says, hello people, good to see R3 adding this car so we can get more comparisons to the AMS2 and other offerings. Yes, that's the other thing I was going to cover this evening, is how it compares to AMS2. One thing to remember is the riser version is free with a basic game, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Frederick's here. Spa, too easy. Take this fridge to a more challenging track. Did someone say Macau? Can it even do the hair from that? Well, for you, Dr. Frederick, we're going to have to find out. But we're just going to warm ourselves up just gradually, get into it. Marty says he picked up the RSS 1970s Formula V8S, still haven't tested it yet. Oh, I have seen something about that, I'll have to have a look at that. I've only slept 4.5 hours in 3 days, so I'm sure I reckon. Ooh, that's not a great situation. I don't know why I was going for first gear on the H-Pan then. It is not the play with this car. Right, let's try again. So used to driving H-Pan cars, not these modern paddle shifted things. But here we go. Down through Eau Rouge again. So it is very pointy. There's a lot of front end on this car in its standard default setup. So it's very positive, as you'd imagine, with the steering. It's not got any slack in there, and it's very quick to turn into a corner. So you can apply a very small amount of steering lock, and you're already changing course in a very rapid manner. I think the hardest thing to get used to is going to be that right foot, just trying to gauge how much throttle to put down out of the corner. This is even with the grippiest soft tyres as well, so goodness knows what it's going to be like when we get onto the mediums and hards. Move that over there a little bit so he's not clipping as much, hopefully. So as is always the case, just kind of build up your speed gradually. Don't try and go too fast too soon, because that's when things start to get a little bit out of hand. So just always build up your speed gradually, and then go for it a little bit more down the line. So let's try and bring our braking point back ever so slightly for the bus stop to actually make the curve on the inside this time. Okay, well, we're through slightly more successfully than we were last time. Let's see if we can get a complete lap in. Ooh, big lock up into the source. Not ideal. Okay, so this time down the Kemmel Straight we shall engage DRS. Let's see if we can go flat through Eau Rouge and Rayon. Yep, no problem. Of course, as you'd expect. And then DRS is activated, nice little beep to let you know that's happened, and then the indicator goes red. So hit the brakes, and off goes DRS. It turned in on the brakes as well as trying to carry the speed through there. 2 stabs at the corner of no name, that's not the way to do it. 1 chuck into Pouhon, and trying to be brave on the exit with all the power. Oops, too quick into there. Ooh, there's the curb. Tyre temps on the wheel? I can't actually see it. My actual steering was in the way. What have we got there? I can't tell. Come on, let's go. Get some power down. That was a curve on the inside, that's the max line. Theodore says, listening to you in one ear while racing around... trying to go through it originally. Racing around DP in MS2 in the Passat. MS2 front wheel drive car, that's so good, just need a BTCC, WTCC car. Yeah, I was actually racing the Cobra Classics the other day, actually. And good cars. So with the grip this thing has, you can actually really get all over that curve quite early for the last part of the com. It's just having that confidence to turn it in there and not have any dramas. So here we go. It's also retraining your brain because everything comes up at you so quickly with these cars, and you've got to have lightning reflexes just to get the turning point spot on. It's not too bad through that. Well, we're up on our time. We are increasing or improving our lap time. That's not particularly hard. We haven't been going flat out. So we go hard on the brakes. Even in second gear, it's just wow. Okay, right. Let's go back to the garage. Let's put some mediums on because we need to figure out how things will drive in a race type setting when you're not running on softs. So let's see. Oops, fire that. So now we have the nice yellow sidewalls on to match the yellow highlights on our Team UK livery. All colour coordinated very nicely. Obviously we're going to take a little bit of time just to get ourselves some tyre temp, even though we can go pretty much flat through our region ready on straight away. So what we'll also do is when we're on the straight here, I'll show you the effects of the engine modes and what happens when you change the ERS or MGUK. I do love that cackle on the overrun. It sounds very good. Okay. Already feeling reasonably planted underneath us. Just need to learn how to drive first. Be interesting to know whether these tyres are just as fragile as the Pirellis in real life, as to whether they burn out really quickly if you push hard on them, or if you have to conserve their life a little bit. Oops. Just taking my Formula RaceRoom X-22 rallying on the exit of the bus stop. Wow, it's just that constant it's just that boost where it just kicks in so late. You're kind of waiting for it to happen. You're kind of waiting there thinking, okay, now? Is it now? Oh no, it's now. And then all of a sudden you got all this power and you're having to come back off the throttle to try and regain control again. So, right, this time I'll show you what happens when we come down here. So we're going to be high up in 7th gear. Let's turn the engine mode down. You see the rev just drop and just die, and let's turn up again. And off we go again. So if we were to put this down to map 1 now, and then just drive with it, see if you can notice the difference in how much it pulls off the corner. Yeah, it does. It just feels really, really flat when you have no power at all. Maybe this is learn to drive mode. You can set it up when you're more familiar with controlling your right foot, because it's considerably easier driving around like this than it is with mode 5. But obviously it's going to be significantly slower as well, so just cruising around. So Marty says SLB has had some nice remarks on Rise of Forms the last day or so. Has it really? Oh, I haven't seen that. I have to check that out. Too busy reading your message and completely missed the bus stop. Yeah, well, that particular stream that we did on Saturday evening has gone really well. There's been a lot of views on it. So, and there's been a lot of positivity on the likes and comments as well. So it's good to see that you guys have liked the content we put out, which is always nice to know. Yeah, okay, so you can kind of get off the corners. Okay, we had a lot of wheel spin then, but it wasn't instant death off the corner. So let's take a couple more brake pills and we'll put that engine mode up to 3. Give ourselves a little bit more power to play with. Let's go DRS, because why not? Ooh, there's a curve. Crunch. Right. Let's go back to the garage. Let's put hards on. This is just a very quick run through of the tyres at the moment. We'll do some more running of them as well as the evening goes on. So let's try the hard tyres. So now we have the white sidewalls, of course. The favoured race tyre in real life F1 currently in some cases. Unless of course you're Ferrari. Right. So GSM Dad says, not really tried the four-wheel drive cars. This is in response to Theodore. From what you say, might as well have missed out on an enjoyable experience. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I do enjoy them. I was taking the Mini out and just taking it to the Sats and the Golfs and things, just trying to beat up on them with the little Mini. It's good fun. Right, so this tyre should, in theory, have a lot less cornering ability. So you can't just throw it into the corner like we could on the softs. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more pushing on through there. I know the tyres are potentially still cold, so we'll reserve judgment just yet, but let's get some temperature in them if we can, which is obviously quite a big bone of contention at the moment with trying to get tyre temp into some of the car's tyres, and it's just not happening for some. This is where it pays to not have a binary right foot. So it's not just on or off. You've got to be very analog with your inputs just to try and keep everything together. So let's just turn the wick up slightly again. Let's go back up to 5. Yeah, there's no stopping that. Right. Yeah, now we have all the boost. Normally you wouldn't necessarily run full power mode on the hard tyres, because that'd be in the racing state and you wouldn't normally have qualifying mode engaged. Ooh. Wow, okay. That was a little bit less keen to get into Eau Rouge that time. We'll have to try the push to pass button in a moment as well. Yeah, so significantly less grip with the hard tyres. And we're nose into the wall. Right, okay. So that's a quick run through of the car's features. We'll do I'll put some softs back on again just to give ourselves half a chance. And then let's say let's put some other cars on the grid, and we'll see what it's like around other cars. So we'll do another practice session, maybe do a qualifying session, and we'll do a race with these cars. So let's do a single event, and we'll set something up now and see what we can do. So there we go. Take Dan's car, and where should we take these two? Well, let's go to Silverstone. We'll go to Silverstone Grand Prix. And cars on the track. And do a quick 8-lap race. Yeah, that should be fine. Qualifying single session. Yep. Let's put good 15 minutes worth of qualifying on, because we just want to get some time on the track. And yeah, let's go with that. So it'll be interesting to see how these cars race against others, and whether we can actually have a decent race with it. Because I know sometimes in MS2 we've had problems with the AI where we have ended up running into the back of them because they've been really good on the brakes, and I've been caught out and we just sent them flying. It'll be interesting to see how we get on with this. So Theodore says they're very good. I would suggest to start out with the Mini JCW racing. The AI has some good door to direction. Yeah, absolutely. So Theodore says, I may have shared the SRV 1.4 review on the forum as a counter to one of the other reviews out there in terms of their tone. Oh, okay. Thanks, Theodore. Appreciate that. Well, we like to offer balance in the world of sim racing. Right, so qualifying 15 minutes around Silverstone Grand Prix. So we have our soft tyres on, we have DEFCON 5 enabled. Let's go out on track. I expect to fully get trounced by the AI here, actually. Yep. It's happened already. It's happened already. And come on, power. Goodness me, this thing's tricky. Ooh. Didn't turn in as well, or grip as I was expecting it to, but obviously first lap and we have been off as well, so goodness me, I feel like a learner driver here with all these experienced cars driving past, which of course I am. Okay, through Cops corner. The aero kicked in, we have plenty of grip there. Let's see what it's like through Maggotts and Beckett's. Flat through the first part. Sorry, AI driver. Just completely cut him off there on the exit. He's all over me. Pushing on a little bit there. Alright. First corner. Yeah. Flat. That was too late on the brakes. That was my own fault. Let's come back on the racing line. Obviously, that's the safe rejoin option. Dr. Frederick says maybe the AI should drive the NSU instead. That's a great shout. It might give me an option to have a chance. This is set to my usual difficulty. Ooh, and there we go. Well, this would certainly take a fair amount of practice to get this thing sorted out. So obviously Silverstone itself has a little bit more of a stop-starty nature to it, some more slower corners to try and get this thing through and out of. So that's, in itself, is a bit of a challenge. Here we go then. Oop. Hey, I had a mega run off that corner. What? I can't do that. If I try and go around that speed, it would just push me straight off. Okay, we're gonna get absolutely murdered out here, I think. Okay, let's do what we do. Let's go back to Spa. We kind of half know that in terms of driving this car, so let's change the track. Wow, okay, so those AI are really quick. I mean, I got it set to 102, which is normal for me in terms of the other classes of cars, but that is just so much quicker. Okay, we have work to do, everybody. We have work to do. We'd like a good challenge here at Sim Racing Bubble. Well, why not? You know, let's give it a go. See if we can crack this thing before it cracks us. So maybe something like Interlagos would be easier. Yeah, I don't know, because there's a lot of hairpins there, isn't there? I think it would just make it even harder to get out of the infield section. Everything else is not too bad, but I think those slower corners in the middle would just be, yeah, too tricky to get the power down. Right, let's try again then. Car setup then. We are on the softs. Got the wheel out the way so we can actually see. Right. So we have to play with some diff settings maybe just to try and get some drivability off the corners, but we'll persist for the time being. And try and set a lap time somewhere near the back of the grid. So we'll turn our engine map down. Just kidding, we'll go full power. So what I haven't showed you, of course, is when you change the regen settings on the fly. So you get this new menu on the top left there. It shows you how much your discharge rate is and your regen braking as well. So that's now moved it on to a set preset. So we're not on auto mode anymore. We're now stuck on, say, preset 3 for this one. So if we put that down to preset 1 where we're not using any of the battery at all, we'll save it all up before we go for a push lap on the next lap. I'll let this very keen driver get through, because he's obviously quicker than I am. He's not saving his battery like I am though, that's the key. I'm also not saving tyres either. So Skoda says, I find the new F1 cars so different to drive. I go back to the groove type cars. Yeah, it's like the early 2000 era is more your type of F1 cars at Skoda. Let's try and get ourselves a gap here. Right. It's full push mode time. Right, into the source. Need to get quicker on putting the power down. Okay, completely flat through here. Yep. Can't use DRS. Looks like it's disabled for qualifying for some reason. But we will use the overtake button. More power. And we're off. Well, that's qualifying done and dusted. Let's go. Let's go to the garage and we'll just accept our fate that we're going to be at the back of the grid for this one. And then just try and keep up with them. So we've got 8 laps. And we have, how much fuel? We have 50 litres. It should be loads of fuel. Okay, there we are, back of the grid. Some of our first race action with the new Formula RaceRoom X-22. Let's see if we can get a good start here. Not too bad for a race room start. And we're out. Well, that did well, didn't it? Let's give it a restart, shall we? We'll give it a restart. So, be prepared, everybody. If you're at the back of the grid driving this car, be prepared for people to brake into turn 1. Top tip for you guys there. Right, let's try that again. Let's replicate that good start and try and keep hold of the car in one piece. Well, the second phase wasn't so great, but okay, we're sorting ourselves out into the first corner. I'm just going to take that gap on the inside, don't mind us. Oop, chaos on the exit. Well, that's a demon start. We made up loads of places, but we're going to need that little bit of extra assistance, I reckon. Oop, wheel to wheel through Eau Rouge. You heard the little tyre squeal there as we touched sidewalls. Okay. Down towards Les Combes. See, I just have to wait to get on the power because I just can't take that speed through the corners. The fast stuff's not too bad. I can manage that, just about. It's just when it comes to corners like that, I mean, how on earth are they going through there like that? We're now a rolling roadblock for everyone else behind. This is now a case of how many places can we save not getting, not losing before the end of the race. Massive defense mode. Oh man. Okay, maybe racing is not the best course of action. Let's try and get used to this thing a little bit because that is just it's a bit of a brute. So we'll go to the where we belong, practicing on our own. Okay, well let's do Zandvoort. Let's try Zandvoort, shall we? This is obviously the pre F1 version of Zandvoort. It hasn't got all the extra banking thrown in, but let's try that. Oh, goodness. Right, okay. Well, this is a bit of a different challenge then, isn't it? I mean, if you're familiar with the channel, you know that I tend to kind of focus on the older type cars, the ones that move around and you can kind of throw around and chuck around and things. This is very different for me. This is not something I tend to get involved with too often. I can do it, obviously, but it needs a bit of time to adjust. So, Kevin, I'm glad you enjoyed the stream the other day. Theodore says, gives great appreciation for what F1 drivers can do. Yes, indeed. Yeah, they are very talented, and they're there for a reason. And there's a very good reason why I'm not there as well, as you can tell. But yeah, so it's very difficult indeed. So Scudder says, the ISO 2012 cars are favourites. Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, I remember those ones. Very good. Dr. Frederick says, 10 years too late for to simulate Grosjean's start at Spa. Yeah, I know, I was throwing it back a little bit there. Didn't quite get as airborne as some of the cars into turn 1. So Marty says, how does Phil dry his clothes with the spin cycle? Yeah, certainly in this car. Right, let's try Zandvoort. Why not? Down to turn 1 then. So you're going through these corners and you think, oh yeah, that's not too bad actually. I feel like I'm driving reasonably well, getting the power down nice and neatly. And then the AI come along and say, oh no you're not. Watch this. No. Of course now we have to wait for our tyres to clean up again a little bit. Steering wheel's gone a little bit lighter and a little bit bumpy as we picked up some dirt pickup. Really just too scared of putting the throttle down. Yeah, the vibrations are picked up again after that little excursion. So Kevin says, I've broken my RaceRoom plus an Xbox controller into my PC and now R3 has forgotten about my wheel. Oh. Oh, you plugged an Xbox controller in and now it's forgotten your wheel. That's weird. It should save a profile. Or you should have a profile save for your wheel and then you just change back to that profile when you had the wheel plugged in. Don't know. That's bizarre. I'm sorry you're having problems with RaceRoom. Honestly, is Zandvoort made for F1 cars? I'm not overly sure. My goodness me. What an animal. Let's try again. So Theodore says, I gave these a test drive and found them much more difficult than, say, AMS2 or RSS version in AC. I've not tried the RSS version myself, but obviously I've tried the AMS2 version. Yeah, you are right. AMS2 version is easy to handle. It still has elements of danger with the rear end, but this really is quite brutal in its punishment of your inability to keep the right foot stable or progressive. Also, I need to keep all 4 wheels on the tarmac to give us any chance of having some grip. Right, okay. Because at the moment, you can... It almost feels like I'm driving them like I'm in like a F4 car or a Formula Ford or something. It's not giving the cornering ability you expect it to have. Well, let's look at diffs then, shall we? Let's see if we can get some drivability in this. It's probably go horribly wrong, but we're going to have to try this just to try and see if we can get something sorted. So let's just so this setting changes how much the locking force, increase the value if the car spins the inside wheel coming out of turn. So it spins both wheels coming out of the turn. Let's just go radical with that. Let's put it up to 89% power diff setting. Let's just try that. Yeah, you're not wrong, Kevin. They are certainly a handful. I mean, obviously, with any sim racing car, you can drive within a limit. So you can have a kind of a lap time you can drive to where you're comfortable and you're keeping the car on track and everything's flowing nicely and everything's fine. It's when you start trying to extract more out of it, that's when issues start arising. Just trying to... I don't know why I need to coax it. It doesn't need any encouragement. But it was feeling a little bit better in terms of putting the power down out of corners, so I thought I'll just push the envelope a little bit more just to see if that setting has really helped or not. So Kevin says, I recently tried the Brabham fan car in AMS2. It was awesome. Need to try it post 1.4. Yeah, it's a fun thing to drive, that. Okay. Come on, Phil. It's not that difficult. It's only an F1 car. Let's get this sorted. No, too quick on the exit. Okay, let's go back again. And we'll coast the opposite direction. Let's try that. I was going to say something about so I know I'm seemingly making quite a meal of this. It's not an easy car to drive, I will put it out there. It's not one you can just jump into and instantly be setting world record speed, that kind of times, so you gotta... Yeah, see, coast. That was just a bad change. But yes, it's definitely one you got to put the effort in to get the most out of, and I'm sure it'll be very rewarding when you start kind of getting to that point where you feel you can trust what it's doing underneath you. So at the moment, it's like in rallying. If you have no confidence in the car, you can't drive fast. So I currently don't have any confidence that I'm going to be able to successfully A, get through the corner in the correct cornering speeds, or B, get off the corner without rotating. So I need to find that confidence from somewhere. Quite where yet, I'm not sure, but we'll keep pushing and keep trying. So I know I've had a lot of excursions so far this evening, but what I can tell you straight away from the feel of the car through the force feedback is it is good. There's a good weight there, and there is a good amount of detail of what is happening. Now, force feedback wise, comparing with other sims is obviously going to be very difficult because it's quite subjective down to the individual force feedback systems which are built into the sims, but the force feedback on RaceRoom has always felt, since the update that they've made not too long ago, has always felt like it's been a little bit okay, it's like there's less going on, but that's not in necessarily a bad way. So in some sims you'll feel through the wheel, you'll have, you'll be going down the straight and the wheel will be going all over the place and be jolting and bumping your arms and all sorts of things, and you'll just be like trying to hold on to a marble on on a beach, it's just going to be bumping around all over the place. But with RaceRoom, when you have the force feedback set up, it doesn't have that same amount of just not fidelity as such. It's more down to just general effects coming through the wheel. So for some, it may feel like the actual force feedback is not very detailed because, you know, for example, turning through there, then all I really had was just wheel resistance. But when you are loaded up through a corner, you do get a good understanding that the car is stuck to the ground, even though I just completely rotated there. But there's just a little bit of subtlety to it. So when you're coming through the big long corner here at Zandvoort, for example, there's not a whole heap going on with the force feedback, but there's those subtle little movements just to let you know that there are bumps being fed back through the steering. And it does tell you when things get too much for the overall grip level of the car and you end up swapping ends. It just happens to be that with this particular car, it happens so fast you don't really have too much time to react. But force feedback wise, I mean, that's a very long-winded explanation of how the force feedback feels for this car, but force feedback wise, it does feel good. It does let you know what's going on. And of course you have a nice smooth input on the wheel. But you know, it's quick enough to be able to react if you are going slower. It's just that boost kicking in, it really does throw spanners at you and just expect you to catch them while wrestling a nearly 1,000 horsepower single-seater around the track. Now, bearing in mind, this is not a low-powered entry-level single-seater. This is absolute pinnacle stuff here, so it's producing enormous amounts of horsepower, both with the combustion engine but also the energy systems, so you do get an awful lot of torque involved as well. And I think, as you've probably seen in F1 this year, there's been quite a few drivers who've been having difficulty in kind of getting to grips with the cars. Some of the greatest in the world are not quite gelling with their new cars for this year. So it makes you not feel quite so bad when you end up spinning constantly, because us mere mortals are maybe not quite so gifted. But again, as you just take things back a notch, not try and go too mad, too quick with it, you can actually, you know, start to build it up a little bit. So there we go, new session's best there. Still not exactly setting the world alight, but... And round we go again. Right. So, Dr. Predator says, bumps and curbs are definitely much more muted in R3 than, say, a C. Yes, and even AMS2, you feel a lot of impact through the curbs, especially the big sausage curbs. He also says, not so easy, is it? Said Latifi, watching Phil spin again. Yeah, no, it's not so easy. It isn't an easy thing to drive. So, with that said, let's just completely throw it all to the wall and just take on the toughest challenge this car will ever face. Let's try and survive Macau, shall we? Because we obviously have a handle on the car now. We know exactly what we're doing with it. We know how to be fast with it. So why not just take it to Macau? What could possibly go wrong? Just so you know, guys, this is for you, okay? I'm not going to put myself through this pain ever again, but this is for you guys. Oh man, alright, okay. Nice Asher Racing steering wheel. Probably a little bit more suited to this type of car rather than my new D-shape. I've gone from having a Formula rim to a D-shape and now I'm racing Formulas again. Right. Bit of oscillation as we get into the car, but soon goes away when we grab hold of the wheel. Right. Wish me luck. The goal here is to simply survive the lap without getting into the wall and see if we can get around the hairpin. That's the goal. This bit's easy enough, no problems there. Now the difficulty starts. We started well. This is going completely against what I told you earlier on by building your speed up quickly, slowly, not quickly. Let's ease ourselves in. Try and remember where I'm going here as well. I don't drive Macau very often, but it comes back to you eventually. There's a wall. This is obviously the out lap, so we're not going to count that. So we have to do a complete lap from the beginning without crashing. I reckon we might have enough steering lock, you know, but we'll soon find out. Nope. Right, let's add some more lock. It's such a tight corner, that really is ridiculous. Right, steering lock, give it maximum lock, 20, which is presumably what you get from Monaco as well. Maybe a spin technique works for the hairpin. Yeah, maybe it is. That's possibly the way around that. Have to map the handbrake. Right, so this time let's not overshoot on the brakes here. Let's get ourselves stopped nice and early. Thankfully we have plenty of aero grip available to us, because we need it through some of these fast sections. Again, getting a little overzealous with how fast I think I can go through some of these corners. If you're watching this after the live stream, by the way, just a quick note just to say sorry for the compression that YouTube will probably put on this. It'll probably just be like, what are you throwing at me? I can't keep up with this. But hopefully it's not too bad now. Third gear, and I'm still incredibly slow at getting the power down. Just don't dare put any more power down than that. Right, nice and wide. There we go, we're through. Just got to watch out for the boost kicking on the exit. That's the thing with Macau, it sucks you in. You go really careful over the top, and then you get down to the harbour side area here, and you think, oh yeah, there's loads of space, I can go really quick around these corners, but then you still end up finding a wall anyway. Right, so proper lap starts now. Goal is no wall strikes, no spins, but at a reasonable pace. Can it be done? Let's see. think I just answered that question. Okay. Let's try again. We will do it, everybody. I promise you we will do this. Just disregard the pit lane speed limit there. That's fine. It's such an insane car, though. It really is. So we get one more sighting lap to see where we're going. Try and suss this car out around here. This takes intense concentration to try and manhandle this thing around here. It's a slight graze, but you can allow that because they do that in Monaco. It's just when you clout it, that's the problem. Like that. Just when you think you've got a little bit of a handle on it, you cause a traffic jam. Okay. Again, still the outlap, so not counting that. Well, if you were looking to come to our stream this evening for a masterful display of how to handle a Formula 1 car, I'm afraid you probably will end up leaving quite disappointed, but hopefully it'll have entertained you in some way or another. And if it has, please do consider hitting the like button. And also, if you're new here, welcome. It's good to have you with us. Thank you for joining us this evening. And consider subscribing so you can see some more of our sim racing shenanigans in the future. I wasn't the line into that. Right. Now the lap begins again. Let's try and get further than turn 3. Right. What am I doing? I lost myself then. Where was I going then? Honestly thought I was somewhere else. But we didn't touch any walls, so we're still live. Ooh, held it. Oh, again. He's got so carried away, everything was going okay, and then what we'll do? That's what we'll do. Instead of doing an outlap every time, let's do a leaderboard challenge. Is that the way you do it, when you can just start from the hot lap position? Let's see. Man, this thing is so tricky. It really is. Get real. Let's go. That's a different version. Says it's the most accurate demonstration of how people will drive the car. It is. It is very real. This is real sim racing here, folks. This is yeah. I mean, I consider myself to be reasonable behind the wheel, but this car is taking that level of reasonable and just making it even more mediocre to average. It really is a difficult car. Not a flattering car to drive, I will admit. But then it's not exactly here to make friends. It's here to win races. So Dr. Racers, don't think many will be able to race this. Yeah, I think it's possibly going to be yeah, not a well-populated car online, maybe, but you know, I could be proven wrong there. People may just jump in it and drive it regardless. Kevin says I better stick to the F4. Right, there we go then. Now we have the flying start of the lap. Let's go again. This time we got our line right down here. Cross over to the left. Okay, we'll even use... oh, we can't use DRS. Shame. The easiest part of the course. That's that done. It's close to hitting the wall in the exit there, but we got away with it. And that's a wall. Let's did it actually save the steering lock? I wonder if it did. Okay, that's fine. Can't blame that then. So we'll get this done, and then we'll go back to doing some more serious business of testing the car properly, I think. Because although this is a good bit of fun, we need to put it into its natural, more natural habitat. I'm getting some good practice of the first part of the lap anyway. It's like the Nordschleife. And don't get any ideas, everybody. That's not happening right now. I'm not going to count it. I'm going to brake earlier, Phil. Get it stopped, that's better. No. And that's a wall strike. Okay, one more go. One more go, we can do this. Come on, Phil. It's just an F1 car. It's just Macau. That's all it is. Positive mindset. Let's go. Chance to compose yourself before you throw yourself at the tight, twisty bits. Here we go then. We ascend the hill once again. It's quite fun through there, just a couple of little downshifts just to bring it into line. Just point and squirt through here. Just to graze. Saved it. Okay, right, we're safe. Down towards the penultimate corner. One more to go. Okay. We've sort of survived. And funnily enough, we've actually ranked first. That's possibly because no one else is being silly enough to try that. I suspect that won't last very long. I'm sure you guys will go out there and absolutely smash that. But there we go. We just ranked first on the leaderboard for Macau in the F1 car for 22. So there we go. Very good. Anyway, back to reality. Let's try this car at something a little bit more like where you would expect to find it. Ulsterberg. No. Let's go to... Let's do Portimao, shall we? It's another good Grand Prix track. I'll drive around here. How was Alton Park, Kevin? It was great. It was a good weekend. We had 2 days down at Alton Park. We had 2 separate meetings. So we had the US Auto Show on the Saturday, which is a new event for Alton Park this year. And then we had a Classic and Sports Car Club meeting on the Monday. Lots of nice cars. And yeah, some good racing. So yeah, good fun. Always like going to Alton. It's my local track, and yeah, love it there. It's so good. Okay, right. Less barriers up close, but the added kind of jeopardy of gradients to work out. So again, not the way to start off by just throwing yourself right into it, expecting it to be straightforward. Let's put deployment completely off for a moment. So just sorting out my ERS settings so I could hopefully have a chance coming off some of these slower corners without the energy recovery giving me an extra boost as well as the turbo. Oops, locking up into there. Okay. That's the out lap. Half survived. Let's go for the full lap now. Down towards turn 1 here, which is steep drop off and then quite a quick right-hander. Brake on the downslip. Down to the hairpin. Well, with deployment off, it's actually, funnily enough, a lot easier to drive. So it must just be that that hybrid system which gives you all that trouble. Obviously, of course, you need the hybrid system in order to go quickly. But it's good to get used to it. That last corner there really does rest in the middle of it. You can feel the car go light over it, which is really cool. So Skoda says, I guess great racetracks make up for the weather in England. We actually had great weather both days. It was very nice indeed. Oops. Way too over enthusiastic. Okay. So, initial thoughts then. So we've driven it a little bit. We've tried it at some interesting venues as well as some more traditional ones. What do I think? Well, I guess I can sum it up in one word, and that is challenge. It is a real challenge to drive this thing. Which, if you were prepared to put in the time and just solely drive this particular car, I'm sure you would get used to how it feeds the power in, and you adapt your inputs accordingly to extract the most out of them. As mentioned earlier, it's probably not going to be a car for people to just jump straight into and then just expect to drive quickly. But that challenge is part of the fun with sim racing, so obviously most of us will never have the opportunity to drive a car like this in real life. So it gives us the opportunity to drive it in RaceRoom, so we can all pretend to be our favourite F1 driver and try and manhandle one of these things around some of the most famous circuits in the world. But it's quite nice. Now I've got the energy recovery not fully kicking in, you can actually appreciate the handling of the car a little bit more now, so it's obviously still some oversteer which you have to be aware of if you put your foot down too hard too soon. But in general, driving it without the energy systems on full song, okay, it feels fine. It feels like a good high-powered single-seater race car. You can brake into the corners, you can trail brake in. Yeah, even on that very difficult left-hander over the crest there, you can even almost get some power down on it. Obviously, one thing we haven't experienced this evening is any kind of porpoising or bouncing going on. Oops. Snatched a brake into that. Okay, let's feel like I'm getting somewhere with this car at the moment. So let's try and add back in some discharge. So we're going to go half the discharge rate for the battery. So this time we should have some electrical boost, messing our nice smooth power applications. Left rear tyre is looking rather worn. Obviously we're on the softs. Oops. That was my fault for running in there too quick. I think in qualifying mode this thing is just an absolute animal, which is very different. You may, in race mode, have less deployment anyway, potentially, so straightening up on the exit as early as possible through there. Really feel the load through that fast right-hander. The wheel just goes so heavy. But yeah, you can now see the graphic on the right-hand side there. The tyres are going yellow and we are wearing them out pretty quickly. It's because we actually had a run of laps on them. Oops, that's off track. Easy to do here at Portimao. Oops. Okay, well, I think we're starting to understand it a little bit more now. As with most cars with the energy recovery, is once you put your foot down, you can't be taking it off again because you end up losing the benefit of having all that extra power delivery. So you've got to be decisive, but also committed with your throttle application. Right, tyres are wearing down now. So let's go back, get some new tyres, and this time we'll put the energy recovery up a little bit further. So there we go, we're on 80 now. So we're saving 20% of the battery according to that indication. Let's see if we can make it around here safely enough. The other thing as well to bear in mind, as I just warming the tyres, guys, just warming the tyres. The other thing to bear in mind, of course, is with your regen, which happens under braking. The longer you're on the brakes, the more battery you're able to regen. So, in a car such as this, where you're not really on the brakes for too long because of the sheer capability of the braking system and being able to stop the car so fast, you tend to find that you don't have many opportunities to do a proper regen. So, things like trail braking into a corner where you're dragging that brake in allows you to potentially regenerate a little bit more energy. Thus putting it back into the battery and allowing you to have more to play with. So right, okay. So we're on 80% deployment. Let's see how this goes. Again, that fear of getting back on the power has crept in. Even in third gear, it's just so tricky to get the power down. And all this without even thinking about things such as push to pass or DRS or anything like that. It is more purely just down to trying to keep the car on track. And of course, with the more MG UK deployment you have going on, the quicker you're arriving at the corners, so your braking points have to change accordingly to avoid running on too far. So it's quite difficult to kind of get your head around as to what braking points you're in and what the approach speeds are going to be. So Dr. Frederick says, have you tried making the suspension softer? I haven't. But we can We can try and do that. A bit more compliance on the rear. Yeah, see, there you go. Perfect example of just taking too much speed in there. Right. Well, let's have a look at that, shall we? Dr. Frederick, let's take the suspension a bit softer. So give it a little bit more compliance in the rear, I reckon. So let's soft bumps. That's when it's going to be compressing. So we'll soften that off. Give it a couple of clicks up on there, and go with that. For the sake of this, I'm just going to put it back down to 50%, because that was a reasonable level to be using. Okay, let's get some temperature back in the tyres and see how we get on. Should be taking second gear really for that hairpin, but just need to be confident in slamming down through the gears. It's already feeling not too bad actually on the exit of corners. Oops, it's just me getting lost there, that wasn't the car. Yeah, it's not that compliant yet. Todd says I'm very late. No, you're not. You arrive precisely when you mean to. No, plenty of time left to watch for a minute. Yeah, absolutely. Loads of time, yeah, left, yeah. Okay, doesn't feel too bad. Got lost over the top of the hill. Welcome, Gregor. Good to have you with us. It says steering kind of throws me off. Same with the shift lights. Like the red lights come up on the mini HUD way too early. Yeah, so I'm just looking at that now. Yeah. Okay, well that's seemingly better actually on corner exit. So let's just go a little bit more with that. So rev limit set to 1500. So that's just how it is. Engine braking reduction. You just keep the car stable and decelerating and applying a small amount of throttle. Okay. Increase this value if the car becomes unstable when lifting off the power. Decrease if the car is slow to respond on corner entries. Let's turn that down a couple of clicks, shall we? Worst that can happen. But that was feeling a lot better in terms of the traction on exit, as you can probably tell by the fact that I was keeping a little bit more of a handle on it. Let's just go all out. So we're on full deployment now. Sorry, not very much talking around because I'm kind of concentrating a little bit. It's taking a lot of my brain away from things such as talking, so apologies if it's gone a little quiet. I'm just trying to get my head around this thing. It's getting there. I feel we're getting there with it. It's not quite so bad. It could just be the track. It's definitely feeling better, as you can tell by the purple sector. Okay. All of a sudden, things are coming together ever so slightly. Okay, a little ropey on the last sector there, but overall, felt considerably better. Up and over the line, and a new session's best by 2.5 seconds. That's obviously down to having the boost turn up, but okay. Well, that's a lot nicer to drive now than it was on the default setting. Which, okay, playing with setup, you're always going to find a better setup for the car. But yeah, good shout with that one, Dr. Frederick, to turn the the softness up on the rear, and that's good. Okay, well, let's try it somewhere else then, shall we? What we'll do, we'll do a practice session, but we'll put some AI cars on as well, just to kind of gauge some ability here. Let's just let's put it down to 100 and just make sure it's just me. Let's try Imola might be good. Where else can we go? That's suitable. Hockenheim might be nice. That'd be good. It's fun as well. Monza, trying to get off the chicanes there. I can imagine that'd be a nightmare. I've done Silverstone, but didn't quite go so well there. Let's try Imola. We'll see what it's like over the curbs at Imola, shall we? Let's see how we get on with this one. So Todd says, is this car equivalent to the new F1 car in AMS2? Yes, it is essentially the same kind of idea going on with the cars on AMS2 and this. It's built to the same kind of regulations with ground effects, with the modern F1 aerodynamics and engine, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's basically comparable to the two of them. As far as a jump in and drive situation, I think AMS2 is more approachable. But now, having delved into the setup side of things with softening off the rear, this is getting a little bit more manageable. Ooh, we've got too many cars. So I generally move, this is Dr. Frederick again, I generally move the brakes quite a bit back. How it works with the regen braking, don't know. Right, well, let's try Imola. Start off on 80% before we unleash the full potential of this thing. I know I was going way too fast then, but kind of wanted to check out what it was like on the curbs. So you can feel it through the wheel quite well with the rumbles on here. Obviously got pickup on the tyres again now after our little excursion, but that's okay. Okay. Well, so far so good around here, actually. I'm going to say it, but we haven't had a spin for a while either, so that's got to be a positive, right? Saying that, I'm sure it'll happen soon. AI are still ridiculously quick. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more drivable. Much more drivable now. Yeah, much more drivable. Yeah, I mean, that was just pushing too hard into the chicane there. That wasn't necessarily the car's fault. Mostly driver error. Use the overtake button. Get some power down to turn one. Still got the boost too. Use the DRS up the hill. It's pretty wild. It's leaving black lines everywhere off the chicane. Oh, and a couple more into there. So although I'm still being absolutely hounded by the AI cars, it does feel to be a little bit nicer driving experience. That's way too low. Yeah, I mean, I am one from being last, and that's... Yeah, look at that. 118 versus 122. I mean, wow, that's a big difference in time. Okay. Let's have a listen to it from the outside then. We've not had a look around the model yet, so let's let's have a proper look at this thing. So what we'll do is we'll go in here and we'll go instant replay, and then we can move things around as we want. So here we go then. So this is the model in the flesh in the game. So what you will notice with this car compared to some of the modern F1 cars is the little winglets that go over the top of the tyre that extend an awful lot further over the tyre than the real life ones do, but that's obviously down to interpretation of rules and things. So you've got your very simple two-plane front wing, and a couple of dive planes on the end cap there as well. Wheel covers, of course, with the big 18-inch rims. And then here's where all the magic happens under here. Let's just try and scoot under this front here. So you've got the strakes on the side there, which is what channels all the air. And then it squashes it all underneath the back. And then out the diffuser, which you can't see too well because of the lighting here, but there you go, that's a better view of it. See these two big tunnels coming out the back of the car there. Two Venturis, which push the air up and out. Obviously, big rounded rear wing, and a little bit of a shark fin on the back there as well. It's quite a smooth looking model. It's quite a nice looking design. It hasn't got the dished side pods like the Ferrari. It's got a very traditional looking side pod design with a good size intake. But yeah, that's the model. Let's have a listen to the cars on track. So we'll go find ourselves a vantage point somewhere, shall we? Let's come down to pit lane exit. Oops. Oh, yeah. What? What's going on there? Why is that happening? Stop! Oh, it's selecting the camera. There we go. Let's free flag that. That'll be why. Right. Let's hear them coming down to the braking zones here. Obviously, these are all coming out of the pit lane here. Let's skip forward a little bit so we can see them coming in at speed. Sparks flying. Nice set of wheel brows. Yeah, they're quite cool, aren't they? Let's zoom back out again here. Let's get ourselves another vantage point. Come over this way. Over to the Senna Memorial here. All the flags and the pictures and so on. Let's watch them coming through here. Except they're on half speed. There we go. They're all cornering like they're on rails. But they sound quite good. Sound outside of the car. Kind of sound like you would expect a modern V6 turbo F1 car to sound. A bit not everyone's favourite type of sounding engine, it has to be said. Oh, this light got a bit feisty through there. Look at that. But you know, sound-wise, yep. It hits the spot. Let's go into chase mode and we'll just listen to it from on board. So you can hear the beep of the DRS, which you can't hear in real life. Keep it on track, Phil. Yep, that sounds good. But then we know that RaceRoom sounds are excellent anyway, so this particular car, not being based on a actual car, they can't get the proper recordings, but they are using similar recordings of F1 cars, so sounds right. Dr. Predator says bring back the Screaming V8s. Yeah, well, the V10s, I'll quite happily take a V10, no problem. Trail of sparks as I throw it into the kitty litter at turn 1. Okay, so let's just we'll go back out on track, do a few more laps, and then kind of summarize this new car then. So the statement that RaceRoom have put out about this car being the new benchmark for open wheel racing. I said at the beginning of the stream, it's a very bold statement to make, because there's a lot of competition for that particular title of the benchmark of open wheel single-seater racing. I'm off track. I think it's a difficult one to say. It is very good. Now, I'm not going to sit here and bash it because it's hard to drive. No, that's not correct. It's a challenge to drive, and F1 cars are a challenge to drive, because if they were easy, then everyone could drive them and be successful. But it takes a very special type of driver to be able to manage one of these things, and quite clearly, I am not it. So, as far as a driving experience, I'm going to let all these AI get out of the way. As far as the driving experience is concerned, this thing is very good. I mean, you get a good feel to the wheel, as mentioned. You do feel the grip as you go through the fast stuff. You feel the traction loss as you come out of the slow stuff. I'm sure the quick esports guys will be all over it and setting ridiculously quick lap times in no time at all. And it would, I'm sure it would create good racing opportunities online as well. But for those who are perhaps not quite as familiar with F1 machinery or drive them as much, picking this car up and then trying to race it, even against the AI, you've got to really lower the AI difficulty levels down to be anywhere near competitive with them. Picking it up as a car to try and race with, it's not going to be an easy task to do. It's really something that needs some time throwing at it to become more comfortable with. I mean, we've given it some time this evening, we've tried a few things, we've changed the settings in the garage, we've softened the rear off, which has made it more drivable. I would completely admit to that. This worked quite well, but there's still work to do in terms of getting that rear end to being slightly more compliant and more predictable for someone such as myself to jump into it and try and drive it quickly. So it takes a little bit of tweaking, it takes a little bit of work, but once you do get there, and I've already seen so far this evening, it's once you kind of dialed in a little bit and you've gotten used to the dynamics of the car, it is a very enjoyable driving experience, and it's certainly the benchmark of single-seaters within RaceRoom. In comparison with the AMS2 one, again, I think a lot of people are going to probably prefer the AMS2 one, but that may well be just because it's slightly easier to pick up and drive, which is essentially not the fairest for this particular car. But this is obviously all coming from an individual such as myself, where F1 cars like this are not my forte. They're not not what I gravitate towards when I'm looking for something to race in a sim. I don't tend to make this my first choice. There are other cars which pique my interest slightly more than a modern-day single-seater F1 car like this. But those who are interested in their sole passion is F1, naturally you're going to want to drive this car and you probably want to make the most of it, so you'll probably throw yourself into it a little bit more. In which case you'll probably really enjoy it when you get up to speed with it. But what I will say is it needs work, not from the developers as such. It needs work as a driver to actually be able to get this thing moving in a direction that you're happy with and comfortable with. It's not something you can just pick up and drive. So, hi Jorge. It says, which open wheeler in RaceRoom would you recommend for a more casual drive? This one is not a casual drive. I think probably the best one for a casual drive in RaceRoom would be the F4, the Tartarus F4. And the F3 is quite nice too. For the single-seater experience, both of those, you can't really go too far wrong. Yeah, I don't know if I do agree. Let's let this AI go. But yeah, okay, it's good. I mean, I think they've done a good job with it. So I just noticed your comment from earlier, Dr. Frederick, saying not clearly the R3Es is too hard to drive. Not even the TP bends it this much. Yeah, so that's a good observation. It is very hard to drive. But yeah, as I said, I mean, I think it's done very well. They've done a good job of producing a high-end single-seater for RaceRoom. Model's good, sounds good, force feedback's good. Handling-wise, it's there. It just, as I said, just needs effort put into it to be able to extract the most out of it. I mean, it is not a simple car. It's not even a car with wheels, a steering wheel, pedals, and an engine, and off you go. You really do have to think a lot more with this car. So you're thinking about what your deployment rate's like, what kind of speed you're going to be approaching the next corner at, how you're going to be able to get off the corner because you've got that extra boost kicking in, and if you're changing that on the fly, then you've got to readjust your brain as to what's possible and what you can and can't do, and adjust your driving accordingly. So it really is a very full-on driving experience driving something like this. And it's the same with, you know, the higher powered single seaters in any sim. You have to be right on top of your game to be able to try and extract the most out of it. And you can drive this car within a limit. So you can drive it so that you are you know, comfortable in a way. It won't be the quickest pace you can possibly do, but you will be able to drive it in a position where you can get it around the track comfortably. Even if that means, as I found, turning the energy recovery down to 50%, say, or even less if you need to. So you can get it to a point where you can just drive around in a comfortable state, but to extract that last little bit of performance, that last little bit of pace, you really got to be on your game. It's very difficult. But again, you know, it's very good effort from the guys at Sector 3 Studios for putting out this content. It is very good in its own way, and for its own specific audience, I think it would be very well received. But for the casual sim racer, might not be the best thing to go and jump into straight away because it'll probably put you off. But as I said, if you're prepared to put the effort in, it's good. So Todd says, does this car have tyre compounds for the race strategy? Hang on. Pit stop presets. Create a new preset. Let's go medium, hard. Let's just try that. Create. So active. So fuel add front tyres, you can change it to soft, medium, hard, but you can only change them the same front and rear axle. You can't have mixed, so you can't have soft on front, medium on the rear. It has to have the same compound all the way across. You can do that, and then you can select, I've got it down as medium hard, but I don't think you can put it down as being medium for the first stop and then hard as the second stop, or whatever. Yeah, so you can create your own individual presets. You can have one for medium, one for hard, one for soft, and you can just select that when you go into pits. So it's it's something you can work on. So Theodore says R3 for me is all about WTCC and DTM. Yeah, they're very good at doing that. Those cars are excellent in RaceRoom. Really, really good. Dr. Fredder, please don't take Phil's word for it. You can always try the car for free. Yes, absolutely. That's the great thing about RaceRoom, is that you don't have to take my word for it. You can simply you can simply go out into the store, test drive yourself, and make your own decision of what you think of the car. So definitely worth trying before you buy, just to make sure you're comfortable. But I'm sure you'll be fine with it. Dan, welcome, Dan. I hope you're looking after my car. Yeah. Yeah, I tried. I may have creased it slightly occasionally, but by the end we're okay. We sorted it. It's okay. It's all polished and shiny now. You can have it back. Thanks for letting me test drive your car, Dan. And Todd says, "Oh, after your last stream, I took the Caterham around Fontana. Wow. Yes, Todd. Good stuff. I'm glad you found that the same as I did. That was an enjoyable experience." Okay, well, I think as far as the new Formula RaceRoom X-22, big name, big expectations. Yeah, I mean, it's a worthy addition to RaceRoom. It was, I guess, a little overdue in terms of updating the top level single seater. We had a pre-Halo version for the top spec up until now. I think it was 2017 spec car. So definitely long overdue, and it's a good time to do it. Obviously, with the change of rules and the new era, etc. And it's a very popular thing at the moment. We have F122, we have the F1 Manager, we have the new car like this in AMS2, and now we have this particular version as well. So there's a lot of excitement around this new formula of F1, and rightly so, because it has kind of reinvigorated the championship in terms of its competitivity and the overall kind of drivability of the cars. And it does highlight, as mentioned earlier in the stream, it does highlight the absolute skill level of some of these really high-end drivers that we see in F1, because to hustle one of these things around the track in qualifying mode, it's hard going. You really do have to be on your game. So yeah, a good job for the guys at Sector 3 Studios. You did a good job with this one. Go try it out in the test drive mode, as mentioned. See what you think for yourselves. Let me know in the comments below what you think of it as well. It's a bit of a handful, but it's good fun nonetheless. So thank you guys for joining us this evening. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly enjoyed trying to wrestle that thing around. It's a bit of a handful, but very enjoyable handful at the same time. So thank you for joining us in our midweek stream. It was good to test out some more new stuff on RaceRoom. We'll be back on RaceRoom again very soon, I'm sure, doing some more content. I want to do some Beyond the Racetrack series, so we take a look at the circuits themselves, rather than just driving them, but also around the outside of them, and just having a good look at the features and all the details that are found within the circuit. So we'll definitely do some of that. But as usual, thank you very much for joining us. Your support for the channel is always very, very welcome. Thank you so much for being with us this evening and for watching along, and for no doubt laughing at my inability to drive this car. It was good fun. I enjoyed it anyway. So thank you once again, guys. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll be back on Saturday evening for some more live stream action. But until then, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.